Welcome to Access Africa, the show that takes you, the business viewer, into the heart of the African continent. Starting off in South Africa, we bring you business stories that highlight challenges as well as successes. Journey with us into Cameroon, Ethiopia, and Kenya as we focus on how business is done in Africa. Tiger Brands is the largest manufacturer of branded food products in sub-Saharan Africa. They participate in a broad range of categories spanning food, home, and personal care products. Starting in South Africa, we have followed Tiger Brands' expansion onto the balance of the continent. In recent years, the group has expanded its footprint primarily through acquisitions as well as through the export of South African brands into new markets. Tiger Brands expanded into Africa in a very deliberate manner. Would you please tell us about the expansion?
I suppose the best way to start this is to say we are part of the African continent. So when we talk about moving into other territories around our continent, it's almost an inevitability. If you want to continue to grow, you've got to be able to find places where your products have relevance and where you can service consumers and customers. So the expansion across our continent certainly didn't start with me. We had businesses in Botswana, in Zimbabwe. We've exported for a very long period of time. And indeed, many of my predecessors, colleagues, continued to look for opportunities across the continent for a period of time.
Neil, why Africa?
Well, the first reason is South Africa is part of the African continent. So to the extent that we know something about the territory and feel comfortable with the territory, which, let's be honest, has a very significant mix of first and third world, and how that plays itself out is obviously a mix of formal retail and, of course, undeveloped trade. The second part is we have a number of product categories and brands which we believe to resonate with a lot of the consumers in the countries north of our borders. Thirdly, we're a successful organisation within the South African confines, and as a consequence have a number of disciplines and what we call exportable competencies, which we've taken into the balance of the continent. So it was a combination of those factors. And of course, as you know, success does breed success, and in some of the countries that we first started with, where we did enjoy some success, that gave us, I suppose, two things: confidence and the license to go and do more.
What has been the most challenging aspect of growing the business in the balance of the continent?
One of the most significant challenges that we faced when going into the balance of the continent was the preconception that Africa as a continent is one country, when further from the truth it couldn't be, in the respects that it's a combination of 47 countries, and when one adds the islands adjacent to our continent to that, it takes it to 53, and each of those with its own unique culture, language, macroeconomic, political challenges, consumer taste preferences, habits, attitudes, and the like. So from the perspective that says how we cherry pick the categories and the brands, certainly a number of variables to contemplate, and far more complex than we perhaps had initially assumed. Secondly, if one considers the average income of consumers by country, certainly they would be at the lower spectrum relative to international standards. And interestingly enough, low income does not mean brand conscious or brand aspirational. On the contrary, rather it's about how we then take those aspirations into a branded proposition, and that's affordable. So consequently, price point, pack size, format expression were significant learnings right up front. And then Prue picking up on the issue of quality, which is really paramount to us as a branded consumer organization. The principle behind that relates to the level of income, where as a general rule, consumers in the balance of the continent do not necessarily have the level of income to experiment across different product offerings. So therefore, the promise which we attach to our brand must be a promise that actually delivers, so that we don't disappoint, given their lack of ability to switch in the event that the quality disappoints.
With their expansion strategy in place, paired with great optimism, Tiger Brands engaged fully on the continent. Over an 8-year period, Tiger Brands' hands-on strategy of fix, optimize and grow has seen many of their acquisitions and partnerships yield great success. This can be seen in the manner in which the Tiger Brands values have been adopted by their various companies. What's it like doing business in Cameroon?
We have been growing double-digit in the last 5 years. Same thing in 2014, where we also had double-digit growth, both top line and bottom line. So you can make it work, but it requires you to know the environment properly, to identify any obstacle in the environment, to find a way of resolving them, and to focus your team on delivering on the operational result really. So that, I think, is the key for anybody coming in this environment to do business.
Mohamedou, tell us about the success of Chococam since Tiger Brands' acquisition.
Well, Prue, the growth has been impressive. The execution of our FOG strategy has yielded very impressive result. In the past 5 years, our top line, in round terms, has been multiplied by 2. And in the same time, our bottom line, EBIT term, multiplied by 3. So in reality, since we have been with a Tiger brand and executing the strategy of fixing the business, optimizing it and growing it, we have been really making absolutely fantastic results in Chococam Tiger brand here in Cameroon.
We travel from a business in Central Africa that has implemented the fix, optimize and grow strategy with great success. We visit the East African region, where Dr. Kirubi shares what the partnership between Hako and Tiger Brands entails.
Has gained a lot because they did not have to have greenfield. They came into a business that was fully operational and that has infrastructure, has human resource, and we have been known in the performance levels of the whole group as one of the best performing company. We have very quality, well-trained people. And the addition for us is that Tiger has a training college that helps to upscale our staff. They all go for this magic school training, and we have seen tremendous changes.
An expansion drive is often backed by a strategy that takes some time to yield results. For Tiger Brands, their bold steps onto the continent have yielded results in under a decade. A combination of the right partnerships, coupled with strategic vision and a long-term commitment to their investments, will surely go a long way. Departments such as research and development are crucial for the long-term growth of any manufacturer. In this case, innovation leads the way in East Africa.
Sinarine, there's a fine line between innovation and brand values that the consumer comes to trust. Can you tell us how you balance that?
Consumers love products that address their needs. What innovation does is ensure that that value is constantly addressed, because what it does is looks at what the consumer needs constantly and the trends, and now looks at improving the existing brands so that the consumer can actually feel like the brands that they go out to the shelf and pick add value to them. So innovation in itself continues to add value to existing brands. any organization that looks at a future, not just locally, but globally, must realize that without innovation being at the heart of it, then you're as good as dead. So what innovation does is constantly pumps life into a business. So innovation should be a culture within an organization and should be part of how any serious business operates on a daily basis.
And how would you say the market has responded to this innovation?
I mean, if you actually say you innovate, because innovation is about how fast you are able to commercialize, and what that means is that you as a business get value out of it and the consumer is excited. So it means that by the time the product is out there, the consumer has been waiting for this because there's a need. So the expectation is that this consumer is going to be very excited, happy, and they'll go out and pick the brand. So the expectation is the consumer will be happy to have the product, a ready market out there.
Expansion into the balance of the continent remains core to Tiger Brands' growth strategy. And as we've seen thus far, they continue to invest in their efforts. Let's look at their next expansion drive into Ethiopia. A land located in the Horn of the continent, in East Central Africa, a place where coffee was first discovered. Join me as we explore this exciting country. Ethiopia's growing population, a rising middle class, has created a need for quality branded products, which has led to the joint venture between Tiger Brands and the East African Group PLC. We take a brief look at their partnership with EATBI in Ethiopia. When Tiger Brands made the decision to invest in Ethiopia, it was only after a thorough evaluation of the business landscape. This entailed the scrutiny of the socio-economic environment, GDP, and other macroeconomic factors. Population measurement, other consumer-driven trends, and the competitive situation were evaluated. Aligned to their expansion strategy to partner with local business experts. Tiger Brands then embarked on an evaluation of investment opportunities, carefully scrutinizing the business and potential partners to ensure long-term success. When faced with the opportunity to take a calculated risk in Ethiopia, Tiger Brands took a closer look and liked what they saw.
When you think Ethiopia, I'm not sure what goes through people's minds, but for many people, I think they kind of think, oh yes, interesting country. They got people who do lots of running and lots of sand and dust and what else? Oh, it used to be a communist state and all of that stuff. Oh, and then they'll say, by the way, 80 million people.
Please talk to us about your choice of doing business in Ethiopia. Why was it attractive?
So Ethiopia, absolutely right, sits in the Horn of Africa, 80 million people, a government that has stabilized and is looking to grow that economy. We again were very fortunate in running into another entrepreneur who was looking for the right partner to help him continue to develop his businesses, grow his businesses. And so in our chairman there, Bezenu Buzwao, we found a partner that will help us learn quickly about Ethiopia and partner us in growing the business in Ethiopia. Now, none of this comes without any difficulties. There are always difficulties, I keep saying this to you. But the Ethiopian market, in my mind, represents long-term one of Tiger's greatest growth vectors if we can continue to be relevant and grow our businesses there over time.
What were the risks and how did you overcome them?
Look, there's always a risk, whether it's regulatory risk, whether it's financial risk. That's part of doing business anywhere in the world. The reason we look for partners is to manage those risks. So whatever the risk has been, we've sought to make sure that between ourselves and our partners, we have the ability to overcome those risks. So there aren't any specific risks that would fall outside what I call the normal ambit of doing business in any part of the world. For me, I suppose the persistent risk will always be if we ever get to the point where we don't have the humility to learn or the tenacity to succeed, then we put everything at risk.
Whilst challenges and risks abound in any uncharted territory, as Peter Matlari puts it, the humility to learn and the tenacity to succeed are characteristics that any successful business must employ. We meet the CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, Mr. Tewolde Gebremariam, who sheds more light on doing business in this region.
Growth has been very fast, phenomenal growth. Not only in GDP growth, but also in Human Development Index. We have seen significant change, improvement, and the growth has been broad-based. That's also the other very good development. It's not only concentrated in the urban areas, it has been all over the country. Access to clean water, access to basic health services, basic education, roads, communication, electrification. We've seen a lot of changes, a lot of positive changes. Of late, we are also seeing significant flow of foreign direct investment to the country, especially from the emerging economies like China, Turkey, and of course the developed world. And I think I would say that the 21st century is an Ethiopian and African century. The last 1 decade has been very, very good time for us. We have achieved so much, but the best is yet to come.
We asked Neil Brimacombe about the business opportunity in this region.
East Africa in its totality is a very significant market, north of some 300 million people. And Ethiopia is by far the single biggest market in that territory. And by the way, the second most populated market in sub-Saharan Africa outside of Nigeria, and close to just over 80-odd million people. So there's something around the scale of the market. Secondly, the relative underdeveloped opportunities from a category development perspective. And then thirdly, we had established a local partner who we believed we could really work with and build a substantial business going forward in that key territory.
There's an old Ethiopian saying that goes something like this: a good name is better than a good perfume. In Tiger Brand's case, this is very true. Reputation is a priority.
A business of good financial repute is key to success. Along the way, there will always be business challenges.
The two most significant challenges that we face in Ethiopia, Prue, Forex related and skills related. Let me just expand a little bit. On the Forex side, we need to import about 85% of all our required raw materials and packaging requirements because of the lack of local market capability to support that. And consequently, we need Forex to pay for that. In a country that suffers at times from Forex shortages, that does prove more challenging than otherwise ordinarily would be. The second is skill shortages in key areas of process capability and the technical side of our business, and at times some management skills as well.
Tiger Brand's innovative thinking has assured them a working partnership in Ethiopia. Social credibility coupled with a real interest in skills development has paved the way for Tiger Brand's success in the region.
So on the Forex side, the beauty of having Tiger Brands as a parent, we were able to provide a working capital, a foreign currency denoted a working capital loan to the business, and we draw down on that as and when required. And then secondly, as far as the skill shortages and challenges are concerned, we've had 2 expatriates to augment those where there were obvious gaps. We've had the opportunity to really bring a lot of the Ethiopian people into our various academies and help with that capabilities development and the associated upskill and growing our own.
In order for the Tiger brand's expansion drive in Ethiopia to succeed, a strong belief in the long-term success of the partnership is needed. We asked Funke Igodoro, Tiger brand's Chief Financial Officer, about the company's stance regarding Ethiopia and their vision going forward.
In our Ethiopian business, EATBI, we've got a 51% shareholding in a business that's predominantly operates in the home and personal care business, and more recently has extended into into food categories. It's important to understand that Tiger Brands is not about the short term. We see the opportunity in Ethiopia as being a long-term one. We've established a presence of which we believe that we can build for the long term. We believe that there's an opportunity to build our brands and also to grow into other areas within the economy.
Expanding into the food categories in Ethiopia is an exercise that will see Tiger Brands invest in one of the fastest developing countries on the African continent. This is a country rich in historical and cultural heritage, one of the many points that have been highlighted in the nation's growth and development plan. According to Ethiopia's growth and development plan, encouraging large-scale foreign investment opportunities, primarily in the agricultural and industrial sectors, is a primary focus.
Well, Ethiopia is one of the fastest growing countries in Africa and in the world. And in the last decade, we've been registering double-digit growth in GDP, and mainly in infrastructure building. I'm sure around Addis you must have noted a lot of construction going on. In hydroelectric power, we have the largest dam in Africa, and if I'm not mistaken, about 5th or 7th in the world around the Nile River. And roads. Ethiopia has almost in the final stage of meeting the MDG goals for 2015. And it has been quite a very progressive decade, especially the 2000, from 2000 to now. The country for more than 20 years now has been very peaceful, secured, not only in the country itself, but also in the region. Ethiopia is a major player in peace and security in the Horn of Africa. So business investors are attracted because of these situations in the country.
The Ethiopian market, in my mind, represents long-term one of Tiger's greatest growth vectors if we can continue to be relevant and grow our businesses there over time.
Creating wealth through industry is an ethos applied at Tiger Brands. We have seen it ripple through their various partnerships, and it continues to evolve. From me, Prue Jinka, goodbye.